Wanderers, welcome to the Wandering Dutchman podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Celebration Ice.
Ice baths for humans. Silly. Ice baths for cold adult beverages. Genius. When you're preparing the cooler, there are only 3 steps needed. 1, cooler. Simple. 2, ice. Even more simple. 3, beverages of choice. Now, you can fail the simple 3 steps of preparing the cooler if you aren't utilizing Celebration Ice. Use a local company right in the heart of Jasper that cares about this community and the people in it. When you buy a bag of Celebration Ice, you aren't just getting the benefit of the best ice around, you're also helping a local business. Don't be an idiot. Buy Celebration Ice.
The Wandering Dutchman podcast.
Where none of us are Dutch, but we all live in Holland, Indiana. Join us where we talk about what we all wonder about. This is the Wandering Dutchman podcast coming to you from Smoker's Lounge.
Yeah. The Wandering Dutchman. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Wandering Dutchman podcast coming to you from Smoker's Lounge. Today's episode is brought to you by Celebration Ice. Support local. Support our buddy, Mark. Seibert. It's not Seibert. Seibert. I don't want to make that mistake again. Hello, and happy Friday to you. If you're listening to this on the Friday that it comes out, it is 4th of July in future time. Happy 4th of July to you patriots. God bless America.
Hell
Sure.
yeah.
Do we need to listen to the...
We will.
I know, yeah. Paul Harvey.
I freaking love it.
I do
Every
too.
time. I didn't realize you were such a big fan of it.
Tear to
until
your
last
eye,
year.
man.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I love
It is
it.
good stuff. But if you are listening to us on the 4th of July, we hope you've got a bunch of people over and you're like, hey, there's this podcast.
Yeah.
We should
True
check
model American patriots.
Super Americans.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Right. Fat and everything.
yeah, and they're funny sometimes, but then sometimes they're not. But yeah, we love listening. So that'd be great if you could share.
Yeah.
We'd appreciate it. But
Do what you can.
make sure you go to work on Monday with all 10 fingers and all 10
I
toes.
think I'm going to take Monday off.
Attaboy.
I'm going to try. Long weekend. I want to take them all in 1 week and make it too short of a week. Got a lot to do.
Yeah, makes sense
But
because the
2
Friday
4-day weeks are...
You'll be off Friday.
That's what I mean, but I want to take a long weekend, but I don't want to take off Thursday and only work 3 days that week. Too much to do, but I think 2 4-day weeks may be achievable.
You know what I've realized for you municipality and state and federal workers? You got a day for Juneteenth,
Yep.
and then in 2 weeks' time, you get 4th of July.
Right.
It's damn near like you're at Thanksgiving and Christmas at the end of the year.
That's what's next.
What do you mean, what's next?
Labor Day.
Yeah, you got Labor Day coming.
Yeah, but that's not for another 2 months.
Well, he said that's what's next. He forgot he has a holiday off between Thanksgiving and
Yeah, like they were really stacked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I think-
stacked up.
I think one year the court calendar it was an election year, I think, and I think it was like 14 or 15 days holidays.
I only think we get 11 or 12.
I get 10.
So it might be 12. Because you don't get Juneteenth.
No.
You don't get...
Columbus Day.
Yeah, we don't get that either.
Bless you. You guys get Veterans Day off.
Yeah.
We don't.
I don't get Veterans Day, but my employer did recently pass that if you are a veteran,
Oh.
you get Veterans Day. And I think that's cool as shit.
Oh, you don't want to file discriminatory action because you weren't able to serve because you're colorblind, so they get a day off and you don't?
No, I think that's cool they do
Yeah,
that.
that is cool.
Yeah.
So at the resort, they added, going from January 1 to December 31.
There's 14 state holidays in Indiana. 14.
What are they?
New Year's Day,
Okay, we get that one at the resort.
Martin Luther King Day,
Not a chance.
I think I get that one.
Washington's birthday,
which generally coincides with President's Day.
Yeah.
So we don't get that one.
Good Friday.
Don't get that one.
Memorial Day.
Get that one.
Juneteenth.
Nope.
Don't get that one.
4th of July.
Get that one.
Labor Day.
Get that
Yep.
one.
Columbus.
Nope.
Veterans Day.
Nope.
Nope.
Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I get 2 for Thanksgiving.
Lincoln's
one.
birthday.
I think that's still
Good
President.
Friday. Floater.
Oh, okay. So Good Friday. We don't.
Christmas.
I get Good
So
Friday.
realistically, New Year's 1, MLK 2,
Good Friday
President's
should be
Day.
there.
So President's Day we do not get.
Okay.
We do get Good Friday. You counting?
I'm just going to pull it up.
I got it right in front of me.
No, I mean, okay. You weren't following. I've got all mine on the calendar that I get.
Oh, so Good Friday, Memorial, Juneteenth, 4th of July, Labor Day. I don't think we get Columbus Day.
I think the trade-off was you don't get Columbus Day, but you get Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. And then Veterans Day we do get for sure. Thanksgiving we do.
Now,
We-
but that's
we also-
2 days.
Black Friday is our floater.
Yeah.
And then Christmas.
So I get 2 days at Christmas.
You don't
so
get New Year's Eve?
No.
I
don't
guess that
either.
makes sense.
So I said I get 2 days for Thanksgiving. It depends. I get 1 day for Thanksgiving. I get Christmas Eve and Christmas. So I've got 9 holidays, and there's one floating holiday. And it just kind of depends how the calendar works out. A lot of times it's Thanksgiving, but every once in a blue moon, it'll be around 4th of July. Like, just
So-
kind of depends on how the calendar falls.
So how do they do that with just one floater?
They just set it at the beginning of the year, but it's not always
Oh,
2 days for things. They try
Gotcha.
to do it to make them get more bang for the buck.
so we do New Year's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, and they added New Year's Eve as a holiday because New Year's Eve is one of our biggest days up there, and there would be a lot of people call off or no show. So if they come in to work New Year's Eve, you get like
Double time.
double pay. So that's why they made it a holiday. But then they give us like 2 floating holidays, but I very rarely. like,
And you get to
use
pick
them.
those?
Yeah,
Yeah, they set ours in the schedule.
yeah.
Now, because I hit my 10 years, I got another day of PTO. So I've also got 21 days of PTO every year now, too, on top of my 10 holidays.
So you don't. So do you have yours like? Do you have like a rollover date where yours start? Because you're salaried, I assume.
So ours start January 1. And at salary, though, you don't use – historically, you don't use them, you lose them. But they did this year make it to where you can roll up to a week over.
So we do. So do you have like sick days? Like none of that. It's just all one. So that's how we are too. But like you can roll over 200 hours. So the secret of it is you get to your 200 because you have to earn it. So like when I first started, I was like, sweet, I got these vacation days. And then somebody was like, no, you don't. You have to earn that time. So you earn. So like on our pay stubs, there's like a, hey, you earned a 0.53 hour, 4.53
Just
or 4.3 hours.
The warden used to be that way at one of her previous employers too. Like she earned PTO by the amount of hours that she worked. The mine, when I worked there, January 1, everybody reloaded. So depending on your time of service, you either got, I think it used to be 180 hours, 240 hours, 320 hours, and I think 320 was the most. But you had to allocate the approved holidays
in your hours.
in your hours.
I was going to say, if you had 320 hours, that's 8 weeks.
And you automatically had to dock out however many holidays that they were going to observe that year.
So if they'd
So
have
let's
10
say-
holidays, you'd lose 8.
And well, they were 9. They were not. They figured our PTO on even though we worked either 10 or 12. When you use PTO, they only docked you 9, so they could you out of those extra hours at the end of the year. It made no sense.
Yeah.
So, but now my current employer, you recycle on your hire date.
Which is wild they do that, because it would seem like it would be from a administrative spot.
Your vacation time recycles on your hire date, but your personal time recycles on the calendar year, and your sick time recycles biannually on a predetermined date.
That it seems like makes it more complicated.
It is very complicated.
Yeah. So ours is not
so
like
you can carry 1 week over of your hire date for your vacation recycle. So like I get 2 weeks a year, and it recycles every year on my hire date. But then I can carry 1 week over. So like, which I plan to do this year. So
because you burned a week already.
I did. I used a week up to go to went on our vacation to Arizona, but then we don't have anything other scheduled, and my hire date is in November. So hopefully November 1 or 2 or 5 or whatever it is,
You'll have 3 weeks.
I'll have 3 weeks or 2 weeks and 4 days or some shit.
But
I
some
think I
of it-
burned one up.
I
But
mean,
then like your personal days, they'll recycle January 1,
How many of those do you get?
2.
Well, that's not very much.
It's better than one.
Do you get?
6 days, you get 29 hours in January and 29 hours in July. So it's biannually.
You mean
What?
semi-annually?
Twice a year, but yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
twice a year.
That
That would be biannually.
So 58 hours. So you got, on top of your 2 personal days, is another 16. So,
But you can
I mean, you've
roll.
got almost
You can
3
roll
weeks.
over your sick time to where you can carry a max of 172. I think 172 is the limit on your sick.
that's like 24 days.
And then
Yeah.
your comp time, which the street department is one of the fortunate departments that will honor comp time, and you can carry 60 hours of comp time at any time.
Yeah. So
like when we plow snow and we work over and we do all those long hours and things like that, 90% of the time, not everyone, but most of us will roll it into our comp bank to try to fill those days.
So if you went to go to retire and you planned it the year before, you could potentially have like 5 weeks off
Yeah.
and still
Which-
collect a regular pay.
100% is what most people do.
Sure.
Yeah. Like there's an elderly, he don't listen, so who cares? But there's an older gentleman that before he retired, I think I worked full time with him 3 years or 4 years before he retired, because I'm going on my 6th year now. So 4 years, I think he worked full time with me, and I don't think he worked but maybe 2 days the whole month of December, because he was obviously a tenured employee. Like he did
Yeah, he
everything
had it
right
all.
and he knew how to do it.
I mean, ours is pretty good. I mean, the fact that I can roll over 5 weeks every year, but I mean, like it's not, and we're fortunate because
But you don't ever use them though, do you?
no.
I know you don't.
No.
I know, but you know, so I work with individuals too that have a little bit more tenure than I do. And they have all this vacation time and all this comp time and all this sick time. It's like they don't ever use it. And it's just like
Well-
if you don't use it, you lose it. And then come down to the end of the year, which the one guy habitually always took off. He took off the week of December or the week of Thanksgiving, and he would always take off the week of Christmas. But you don't have to burn like full weeks for those, because you had those allocated holidays. So then they would roll overtime, you know, big deer hunters, big duck hunters, you know, things like that, you know, so they would use their time wisely. But even when I worked at the mine, very seldom did I take 2 full weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Like we would go on a vacation one part of the year, and then the other week I would always just use sparingly. Like I'll take a vacation day here and tack it on a weekend, or
We're very fortunate too. We can work from home. So like if a kid's sick,
There it is.
what?
Last week when we were talking about something and I lost my train of thought,
Yeah.
and I said that I was going to talk about a topic, but then I changed it.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Remote work.
Yeah.
I would be terrible at it. That was it.
I
That
mean,
was
it's
that
not
was
for
the,
everybody.
that was the thing. Like I really truly don't think that I would be good at remote work because of too many external stimuli that would drag me other ways, like my lake, my Ranger,
Yeah, but if you got
My
if you
refrigerator.
got tasks that you got to get
my
done,
beer refrigerator, shit like that.
if you got stuff you have to get done, and
If I had things that I had to get done that were like, the warden's going to give me a real big head nod on this one, but like that were in my wheelhouse, like things that I wanted to do,
Yeah.
I would do the shit out of them. But those other tasks that are like, God damn it, I think I would be terrible at it.
like I do better. Like if I've got a bunch of computer work to do, I do better at home, providing the kids aren't here. But like I do
There's
better
no
if I
office
can.
interruptions.
Right, and I can turn my music up loud, and I don't know why. I know that's distracting to a lot, but if I can just crank the music up loud, like it keeps the part of my brain that's always wandering, like in check while I'm dialed in on whatever I'm doing. And I'm much more efficient when I
Yeah.
got music cranking.
And so my boss, she's very much like, because it was last year, and our PTO resets like March 13th or 14th, or it might even be April.
The fan?
No, that big boom that just happened. Did you?
He just set his water jug down. Yep, that'd be it. We solved that problem.
Wow.
But
I'm having an out of body experience right now.
we had
Okay.
but she was like on me. She's like, you need to take, like, I had
On you?
to take the time, because I think there was a stretch there where I took a full week off, so that was 40, and I think I took 4 Fridays in a row off, because I had like 56 hours. So I think I donated back to the company like 0.6 hours, how the math worked out. But because she's always like, don't wait till the last minute to take it. Don't wait. And the bad thing of it is, it was right before the kids' spring break. So it was one of those deals where it's like, well, why didn't you take it? And I was like, because I was going to lose them. And
They were real big about that at the mine. They were like, hey, I would never use my personal days until the end, because those are the ones that they can't deny. So then I would always, like December 23, December 21, I would always burn up like whatever I had left plus 2 personal days. And they were like, you motherfucker, like you shouldn't do that. Hey, this is playing the game, buddy. You know what I mean? Because they can't deny your personal days.
yeah,
So that
What is a personal day? Like I've never had a personal day.
I never had it either.
a non-deniable day.
Is it paid?
Yes. It could be 100% unscheduled.
Really?
Yeah. So like right now, if you want to take PTO, like there's
It's supposed to be 24 hours probably at least.
well, no, that was yes. So a personal day was anything less than 24-hour notice. So like at the mine, you didn't get any sick days. Like if you woke up and had the shits, or if you were sick and you couldn't come to work, but like the day before you were totally fine, and you wake up that morning an hour before shift and you were sick, you had to take a personal day. Whereas now at my
What are you doing?
Kicking off my Crocs.
I've been barefooted for 2 hours. But the way the personal days are now is it's just they're non-deniable. So like I could call in right now for tomorrow and say, hey, I'm not going to be there. I want to use a vacation day. No, can't do it. There's too many people off. Okay, well, then just chalk me up for a personal day, because I'm not going to be there.
Yeah.
And they can't deny it. Like you're protected by your personal time.
See, and I have a bad
And you
habit.
could take that hourly too. Like say if I had no comp time left, I had no sick time left,
Need to run to the dentist.
I've got no vacation time left. Like if I was an idiot and didn't use my time wisely, but I had 8 hours of personal time, and I know that I've got a dentist appointment coming up, and I've got something else coming up, and it's like December-ish, I'll just use 2.13 hours of personal time.
You know what chaps?
And then I'll use the other 6 point whatever hours at a different time.
There you go. What chaps my ass is these people that get online when the holidays are set for like the next calendar year. And they're like, hey, you can take off 40 days and only use 4 vacation days. And then you realize, well, they're counting weekends. And then it's a holiday and they book in a day there. But like to me, the weekends don't count as taking time off. It's the weekend. Time off is Monday through Friday.
Used to, currently, but used to, I had to allocate for weekends as well because I worked a
Swing shift.
It wasn't a swing. A true swing shift is where you swing from days to
That's
nights.
That's right.
A rotating shift is what I used to work because we worked the ABC schedule, which that'll make your head spin.
That's what I did at Sony.
So ABC is where you never work more than 4 in a row and you get every third 3-day weekend off.
Now that's not what I did at Sony because
So
once
lock
every other
in.
month you would work 6 days in a row.
Okay, so we never did that. So lock in here.
Every other month?
1 month you'd have like 6 days off in a row. So we'd work 3 12s,
I still
off
have-
for 3, work for 3, off for 3, but then once a month it would switch. So depending on if you were the start or the end, 1 month you'd have 6 days off. The next month you would have 6 days in a row you worked.
So a lot of these old cats that I used to work with at Francisco, we worked ABC. And then when we all transferred to when Frisco got done, we transferred to different locations.
Okay.
And when we worked at Corning, which was up at Montgomery, Indiana, that was like a modified version of that schedule. It was kind of different, but yet the same. But then when you come back down to Somerville or Wild Boar in Linville, they worked a 6-5 swing is what they called it. So you would work 6 days 1 week and 5 days the next.
Yeah.
Which those guys were day shifters. It was set in stone and they were not changing anything. But when you were on night shift at Francisco or day shift at Francisco and you lived in the opposite time zone, the ABC schedule was gold because you didn't have to use PTO to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Or go to the
Makes sense.
go to the bank. So you would work. Let's say you would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, off Tuesday, Wednesday, work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off Monday, work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then recycle. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off Tuesday, Monday, or work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, off Tuesday, Wednesday. So you were either A, B, or C crew, and you would never work more than 4 in a row, and you would get every fourth 4-day or Friday, Saturday, Sunday off every 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So like you could schedule your shit around your schedule.
Yeah.
So that was great if you were on nights or days, both really.
Friend of the program, Lee Vogler, when he worked at AK Steel,
Yeah.
which is now Cliffs, they worked like you would work 4, off 3, and then you would go back to 4. Like the calendar.
Now the most screwed up schedule that
But
I've
then
ever
they would
seen.
flip.
Yeah.
They would flip from days to
So
nights.
that's what I was going at. My brother and my dad would work what they call the DuPont schedule. So with the DuPont schedule, they would switch from nights to days. So my dad worked legitimate swing shift for 35 years.
That's wild.
Where he would swing from nights to days. And they would work, they only worked, what did they work?
They would only work like 6 months of the year.
They would only work 14 days a month on a 28-day cycle, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, 6 months.
So he would work, but then when my brother went to Arkansas, it was a modified version of the DuPont, but they would have what they call their Hell Week, where they would work, goddamn, I think they would work 9 in a row.
That's more than a week.
I know, but they would call it their Hell Week. They would work 9 in a row, and they would go from, they would work 12s, and then the last 3 were 8s, and then the following week, they would work a bunch of nights, and then they would work 3 8-hour days, have a day off, and then they would work what they call their rebuild work, where they would just work 4 8s. So he would, and then their 4 8s would be right before their long break, which would be 7 consecutively days off. So that's whenever he would come home. So he would only burn, he could have 16 days off or whatever and only burn like
a day or two,
a handful of hours worth of PTO.
Who in the hell do you think created these wild work schedules? Is it a productivity thing?
Statistics people, yeah.
I mean, is it any better though? Because it seems like it's harder on the.
Well, that's how.
Well, it's so the biggest thing you have in manufacturing, it's the changeover of shift time, and then shutting down lines, starting up lines.
Shift change.
Shift change loses a lot of production.
So that's why the mine did what it did, where the mine was a 24/7 operation.
Yeah, understand that.
And
where
you'd have overlapped though.
With ABC, the way it would work was you would have one crew that would only work 10s. The coal crew would work 12s with no lunch. So production was 10 hours with lunch. Coal crew was 12 with no lunch. But maintenance was 12, but with a different start and end time. So production would work 7 to 5:30. Coal would work 6 to 6, and maintenance would work from 5 to 5. So whenever the coal crew would get off at 6 a.m., they would park their machines. And then the incoming crew would be there literally he would stop, put his bucket down, and get out. I would get in. I would get out of the truck and get in. My truck would already be, my first truck of the shift would already be sitting there waiting. I would continue to load him, and then they would come and fuel and grease our equipment on the side, on the fly. But production, trucks and shovels, they had a full 5:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. of downtime for maintenance, fueling, all the shit that needed to be done. So they would have what's 5:30 to 7? That's
13 and a half hours?
No. 5:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. That's
hour and a half.
Hour and a half. So they would have an hour and a half of downtime every day, twice a day, for maintenance. But the maintenance would start at 5 so they could have their shit together, ready to go and be out there at lineup to where they had that full hour and a half to get going before the next shift would start.
So I was mold maintenance, and I worked 5 to 5. So it was a 12-hour shift, but only 11 and a half hours paid. But then you didn't have to sign up.
That was one cool thing about the coal crew is we worked true 12s because we didn't stop for lunch.
Yeah, so we only worked 12 hours a day, but we only got paid 11 and a half. But then you could work a 5.5-hour day if you wanted. You could just say the day before, I think I'm going to come in and work my 5.5 to make 40 hours.
Well,
but you get there at 5, and then you're done by 10:30.
Yeah,
got a full day of activity.
I always thought, which there again, I think I'm having another one of those out of body experiences.
Yeah.
Like I don't really know how we got here,
And
but
we've
I
been
feel
talking about it for
Remote
30
work.
minutes.
but
Yeah,
I feel
remote
like
work
I'm
is
really, tying onto this. But my favorite and always thought would be favorite shift in the entire world, even as I've been on days now I worked night shift for 10 years. And then I worked days. I worked 5 years on nights or 5 years on days
Plus 4 years.
plus
6
going on 6 years of
11
days.
years.
So I've been on day shift now longer than I was on nights by 1 year. And I think if I could do it all over again and I had my perfect shift that I could work, I think it would be from I would work 4 10s on night shift from 7
On Sunday.
on Sunday to whatever on Thursday.
Yeah.
And that would be the perfect shift.
Yeah.
You could work 4 10s or even 12s. Like I would probably even work 12s. If I was in in that heavy machinery operating world, like not as a laborer, like a 12-hour laborer shift, it's fucking brutal.
That's tough.
I've done it.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes it does. You know what I mean? When you have to do it.
Yeah.
But if you were in that heavy machinery operating world and you could work Sunday night to Thursday morning, straight 12s, and be off every Friday, Saturday, and the day of Sunday, that would be perfect. That would probably be great. Knocking down probably 120 a year.
Yeah, we'd get busy at Sony, and you could work all the overtime you wanted.
That's how the mine was too, man. You could volunteer
12s.
Yeah, dude. You could volunteer. Well, they would do those fatigue studies. There was a guy literally, I worked with cats. I didn't ever do it. I always took my days off here and there. I volunteered some, but there were guys that if you didn't work 8 days a week, they were going to starve to death. Those cats that were I'm going to say they're idiots. You know what I mean? Because they set their finances up on what they would make on overtime. But they would work so much over because there's water to pump. There's stuff to get ready for the next shift, all this stuff. They would work as much as they humanly could. And then Peabody came out with this fatigue study thing where you had to go through, it was basically a field sobriety test. And if you didn't pass, if you were sleepy, if your reaction time, all this shit, they would not let you, you were forced to take 20 hours off before you could come back to work.
Yeah, makes sense. Hey, before we jump into it, one thing I wanted to talk about, forgot about it on last week's episode. How about our boy neighbor Doug going and winning his age division?
Whoa,
yeah.
The old St. Henry 4-miler.
Yeah, hilly course, I heard. Tough course.
No, I'm going to let you know, he came over here Sunday to get in the pool, and he was not getting around well.
No, you should have seen him Saturday after the race. He was walking like he was 240 years old.
Yeah, I
The
believe
way I
poor
caught
guy.
him is old Cab was taking him in a golf cart down to the shed so he could get on the mower to mow grass. And I was like, what are you doing that for? You look terrible. I was like, get in the pool. I was like, I'm going to mow. I was like, I'm not. So I got to.
He
Yeah.
absolutely annihilated. So
What an athlete.
So Saturday evening Friday evening in the beer garden.
Somebody challenged him,
Yes.
and he goes out and wins.
Oh, no, it was before that because he was here at my house before he went over there to dinner. And he said that he was like, well, I got to run this 5K. He's like, it's not a 5K, it's a country block. So what it is, he's like, I'm going to get my ass kicked. She runs every day. She trains every day. And
Mrs. Sarah Bushketter challenged him.
I think he beat her by 5 minutes.
Doug
Oh,
we were locked in Friday night. He was not taking any shortcuts.
I know we got brother Chase in the stable, brother Tyler. Brado's knocking on the door, but I mean, neighbor Doug won his agent.
He
fee.
did, and he won it handily.
Once a year pony.
He did
there.
a great job.
Hey, we're going to get into the show. We hope you enjoyed 30 minutes of talking about work shift and remote work. But hey, we're going to get to it. Jumping Jacks, thank you for your support.
Looking for a way to beat the heat and keep the kids busy this summer? Jumping Jacks Entertainment has you covered. With over 20 awesome water slides to choose from, Jumping Jacks has exactly what you're looking for. It's hot, but this summer just got way cooler with Jumping Jacks Entertainment. Give our buddy Justin a call today at 812-639-4696.
All right, big fella, we got.
Well, this topic is something that we usually don't talk about. We don't talk about geopolitical topics.
We did that last week.
We did a little bit. And I feel like in this, what we got going on right now in the world, in our country, and internationally, it's something that I feel like we do need to talk about. And I think it's not necessarily like the big picture. It kind of gets a little bit locally too, with, issues that are going on, but simply stated, my topic is protest, protest, protest. Do they ever actually work?
Well, if you would talk to the boys in the Boston Harbor that tossed that tea off the boat, they would say it does work.
But I don't know if that was a peaceful protest. I think now we got her locked down to peaceful protests.
But Dave, are they really peaceful?
You talk to the folks out in L.A., I don't think that was...
So that's one that I was talking about, was the protests in L.A. And the protests in L.A. are basically stemming from the
current immigration policy.
the current immigration policies and what is going on with that. And if you look at, the immigration stuff right now, the way the immigration policy states currently.
We're getting into deep water.
That's okay, but that's okay.
Right?
That's okay. We'll tread lightly.
Okay.
And I know you'll do a good job at this. And I know Dave will too.
Dave would say a word.
No, he won't. But so realistically, with the current policies that people in LA they're protesting because ICE, which is the immigration, they're going after illegal immigrants. LA protests. Los Angeles Dodgers stop federal agents from entering stadium grounds. Dodger Stadium live. LA Dodgers, out in Los Angeles,
Los
Angeles, California. They're talking. It's getting pretty bad out there, boys. They're borderline hunting them down, and people are protesting in support of the non-native Americans or non-native inhabitants of Los Angeles. And I work with an individual that everyone knows that is not American born, but he did things the right way. And I think the big term was what people are using now is in due process.
That is the thing.
That's the thing.
That was a whole ass Facebook rant a week or so ago with some locals.
It was. And the whole due process thing, you come into our country the right way, you gain your citizenship.
Well, you're using due process in two different ways.
Am I?
Some of the protesting, they're saying that there's no due process for those individuals for what they're doing. You're talking about the legal process of becoming a naturalized citizen, which the due process is more of the government is doing something against you and you're not being warranted any due process as guaranteed by the Constitution. So you don't want to convolute the two things, because on one end, what you're saying with your buddy that works with, friend of the program, they went through the process to do it in a legal manner.
But that wasn't the due process.
But it's not the due process.
Because they weren't citizens to be due anything at the point in time.
Yeah, because what a lot of these protests are about is you're getting these people, you're taking them to a facility, and we're sending you back. Which I don't know the federal ins and outs, statutorily speaking, or what
People
case
in
law
Los
says.
Angeles are protesting against federal immigration raids and deployment of National Guard and Marines in the city. These protests are largely a response to President Trump's recent crackdown on illegal immigration and subsequent actions taken by ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So protests began, obviously, when they conducted raids targeting workplaces in areas with large Latino populations. Now, this is my stance on this.
Okay.
If you are in this country illegally,
Okay.
and you are a convicted felon in a different country,
Or even in this country.
or even in this country, and you are then apprehended or detained by a law enforcement agency, and they find out that you are a convicted felon in a different country or this country, then 100% you shall receive the need to be extradited back to your homeland. Like, I agree. I believe that. Do you believe that?
I don't like getting into those waters.
Why?
I don't know. Everybody's got their opinion. They're entitled to it.
I know, but I'm just saying, like,
It seems
It seems what initially started out, we're only going after those that we know are criminal of nature and that have been convicted of something. And I think where people have gotten upset is that you hear the stories of the apprehension of individuals that are not criminals. That is what's driving a lot of this. Now, how many have been apprehended that are of this nature? I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's just, I think the problem, like, to stay like on topic with what you're talking about, the problem that has occurred in a lot of these protests there are good people that are going out there and voicing their opinion and peacefully protesting. But for just as many that are good, there's a handful of the bad apples that take the opportunity to loot and riot and cause these other problems.
so I think
And
that's
but
one
the
of
biggest
things.
problem of it is what makes it worse is the people that are trying to do it the right way and that are allowed to, and our Constitution protects peaceful protesting, is you get these bad apples and it muddies the waters on both sides. So then it becomes such a hot topic issue, is because you do have a lot of people that support, like, if there's a convicted child molester that is here illegally, why would you want them to stay within your community? But then there's, on the flip side of, they're going out,
Joe Schmo that's down here milking cows for old Farmer Fran,
that's been here forever.
that's
that
been
has-
here for 25 years, that his visas ran out or whatever like that. That's
But-
not hurting nobody. He's
but-
just
but
selling pupusas on the side and milking cows for a job.
But there's,
Why do you got to go after him?
but what's going on though is when these people are getting together, these bad actors are creating it worse, and that's why, do they actually ever work? Your question on that, no, because somebody will look at it and say, well, they just went and burned down a local business because they're upset about something.
Right.
And I
But-
don't think most of them are that upset. That's what I was going to say about protests. I think the problem is everybody just wants a reason to tear shit up and feel like
Exactly.
they've
And
got
not have any
Exactly.
responsibility for
So
it.
then you go from the one in LA, then you transfer into the June 14th one. So the LA protests started on June the 6th with the immigration stuff. So
Yeah.
then we transform into June the 14th with the No Kings protests. And the No Kings protest is the one that has been, more internationally and more on a local level, where, there has been demonstrations organized underneath the No Kings, protesting against what they perceive as an authoritarian takeover by Trump and his administration. So like the No Kings thing is more on an international level, where basically he's being portrayed by the protesters as a dictator, or as of like more of a monarchy, which there again, I'm not trying to say non-biased on this thing, but when you look at the total picture and you look at the grand scheme of things, like, how would you handle the general perception in a way so that you could please everyone?
You're not going
to.
But even like the No Kings protest stuff, and I think the Vandenberg County Sheriff's Office even tweeted out or posted on their Facebook, whatever they did, they were like, hey, everybody was well behaved. There was no issues. People cleaned up after themselves. Like, thank you for doing it the right way.
And I really think that has a lot to do with the demographic of the protesters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But
where maybe not demographic is the way to say it, but like the
locality.
Yes.
But
100%.
But I think too, like, you could even look at the No Kings protest, and you're protesting of the current administration, but then you'll have people that turned around, and there was the meme game is strong on both sides of these, depending on what you follow or what you do. And there would be some that would say, okay, you don't like this king, but look at what was done under the previous administration.
Yeah.
When it came to the COVID response, when it came to not even really having a primary, and then at the last minute you pulled one individual and put another individual.
That was a lot of what I've been reading lately.
And then you see this happen, and you're like, it's just one of those things, like, not to get into it too much, but you honestly look at it and you say, okay, you're going to go protest No Kings. Great. That's good. You have that right to do that. But on the flip side, maybe you should look at predominantly what that party did in the last 4 years and say, who's really being the authoritarian? Like, you locked up the schools. You forced vaccination mandates on people. You forced like, that's the stuff of what, you know what I mean? And I'm not like,
no, I'm
trying to be very,
I'm smelling what you're stepping in.
I'm trying to be
sure.
very, very much apathetic to both sides on what's going on. But like, you look at it and there's a counter argument to whatever you want to do. It's like a lot of the Palestine and Israel thing. And a lot of that comes through when there's individuals of, certain communities that will scream free Palestine. Well, do you know what they do to members of your community in Palestine? Like, do you know what happens to people that are, of that community in those areas?
Right.
They'll throw you off a building. Like,
so
it's just
so let's transform this into a more local level and really tackle the tail end of the question. Do they ever actually work?
No.
So let's get into the mid-state corridor stuff.
Oh boy.
Really, really local level stuff. And there's been several peaceful protests, against the mid-state corridor. And there's been a select few individuals that are really, standing up for, the blockage of environmental impact studies and, all these things and stuff. But at the end of the day, do they ever actually work?
No, because of the way, and I think that group, Property Alliance Group, I think they've even stated the law is what it is. We're just trying to make sure they abide by the law, and that this drags on long enough to where it becomes quite clear that it's not feasible financially, or there's a large support for it. So that's a point of personal privilege. I know Judge Verkamp, and I know he had to make that ruling. And I will see things online and social media, the armchair quarterbacks of it. But I will go on record saying that he had to rule the way he did because of how the laws are written and evidence presented at the time. Because if he would totally go against what is set there, there's the Indiana Court of Appeals who are going to look at it, and you know what they're going to say? Hey, there may be a call to his office. Quite clearly went against what the law is set. Like there's things like that are out of his control in his hands, and there's people that, they're threatening the ballot box in November and whatever. I've practiced in that circuit court. I've practiced in front of Nathan. He's a hell of a judge, and he's a great person, and he's a landowner just like you guys and I are, and he's a hunter, he's a fisherman, and I think that the bad thing of it is what happens in a lot of this stuff is you paint with such a broad brush that you collect up a lot of things because people won't look at it from because you have one side and you have one side and you have this side and they all want what they want, but nobody is stepping back and looking at it and say, well, guys, here's what it really like. Let's look at the facts on it and see what it is. And then it turns into the mudslinging and it turns into all this other
I think the crazy thing too, like going back to the LA stuff, is that like you see the photos of like the looters and the rioters amongst the destruction of that area that are, wielding the foreign flags and amongst the smoke and the flames and everything like that. And it's like
it's bad optics because the person
they came here for, and let me say this as an American and my family, like we talked about this on the show. I'm only like a 5th generation American. You know what I mean?
This country has been built on immigration.
My family has only been in this country for 5 generations.
Well,
you know
Brother
what I mean?
Dave, because of his Native American.
Oh yeah,
bloodline,
like he was probably the oldest one here.
He's the closest
one
to
like
the
he's
claim of the land.
for sure. The Cherokee
Talk to me
Slapaho
about,
Nation.
Talk to me about
Yeah, that's too far.
That whole nation, that was totally not a racist joke. That was an inside joke amongst some of the other Suckanabe and Slapaho tribe members within this neighborhood. But what I'm saying is that for me to say this as a 5th generation American, my ancestors came here because of, the land of opportunity. And they did it the right way, and they did everything the right way. But then when you see these photos of, wielding a foreign flag amongst the smoke and the flames and the destruction,
all in the name of peace.
yeah, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that gets me. It's like you are here.
Love your neighbor and burn down his business.
Yeah, love your neighbor and burn down his business and piss on the ashes to put the fire out.
But it goes back to the.
If you don't like it,
yeah,
look at me. And in true honesty,
know.
we don't dip in. We don't swim in this lake very much. But when we have to swim in the lake, we have to swim in the lake.
But we have. But the thing of it is. And I want
there's so much irony
the
in
listeners of this show to understand we are not experts in any of this.
Hell no, we're not.
And for the most part, like we go to work, we pay our taxes, we raise our families.
We do what we got to
do.
Yeah.
But it goes back to do they ever actually work? if you're a guy that's sitting in the break room and Fox News or CNN or MSNBC is on TV and you see that image, the instant reaction is, if you don't like it, you know what? You can go back to where it is.
Sure.
But there's still people knocking on the door to get in because you try to take a global thing and hammer it down to one point, and you can't because it's never that easy.
No.
The mid-state corridor situation is never that easy.
No.
Like this stuff with immigration
You're
policy
never going to
is
make everyone
never that
happy.
easy. And what we try to do is we try to make it simple. It's not. It's complex.
You try to do
You
the
think
best.
that's why he did that? Guy will that be considered an interstate? Right,
What's that?
mid-state corridor.
Yeah.
No, it won't be. It'll be considered intrastate.
Intrastate, yeah, because it's like
Not
a super
interstate.
2 or
Whatever
whatever.
they're
I just seen that Indiana they signed a bill to do.
Oh, goddamn tolls.
We're gonna be told to drive to work in this mother.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's one of those things, and people on both sides get it, but do it the right way.
Yeah.
But I think what makes it all worse is you got shock jock news agencies, and you've got social media,
Yeah.
and you've got people very similar to us that have no responsibility commenting on these things,
Right.
that do, and that just is what fuels.
Well, here we
flames
are.
and the
Here
fire.
we are in the motherland, in God's country, Holland, Indiana, looking at like a global picture. And it's like these things haven't really affected us on a global level, but like it's affected us minutely with the cancellation of the Latino Culture Fest and like all these other things. And it's like you look at that and you think this is wild, but in the grand scheme of things, like it's a real deal, man.
It is.
It's a real deal.
And some of that hurts though is I hope that we live in a community, and I think there has been a great assimilation into our community of the Latino population.
Some of the best people I know.
That it sucks that they made that decision.
Yeah.
Obviously they made it
Yeah.
for the reasonings that they did.
Right.
But like to me and you and like I've coached Hispanic kids that are first generation.
Oh yeah,
where
me
it's
too. Like I'm best friends with one.
Where it's
you
like,
know what I mean? Like I would be willing to say that.
But
Yeah, it's a wild
the
deal.
protest game. You could talk to our parents and be like, "What was it like during Vietnam?"
Oh yeah,
What was it like in the South during the
Civil rights.
desegregation and the civil
Yes.
rights movement? Like,
ma'am,
we
you
think
dropped your book.
we think all of this is new.
No,
It is not new.
no.
The bad thing that kills
I can
me,
remember going on in history class and learning about the sit-ins and like those.
and the big thing that
those
kills
types.
me though, the worst part about it is the honest to goodness good people of this world are the ones that get caught up in it. And Dave's going to appreciate this little tirade, but it's the corporations and the money makers that do it, that are pitting people against people because they're making a profit.
Yeah.
Do you think some of these organizations that help do this and help fund, and when you got a pallet of block that shows up somewhere like you saw in LA, or they're passing out that stuff, somebody had to buy it, somebody had to support it. There's people making money off this. And it's almost like it's the marionette and the people up top that don't give two shits about what's going on are just playing the puppets. And the puppets continue to fight each other instead of who realistically is everybody's real enemy. Enemy, because the enemy of my enemy is my, what is that? I forget what that saying is. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is that what it is?
Friend or ally.
Ally. That's what it is. That's what it is. You shouldn't be fighting each other. You should be fighting the corporations that are banking the handful of individuals that you could probably count on both hands that are profiting off this, and say those are the ones that we should really tell to get.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Let's get the out of this protest stuff because it's terrible.
It's a wild deal, man. But it's
God.
the world we're living in.
I could watch it. Dave, and you can leave all this in, but watch like that segment. Watch this episode it'll be one of two things. Because of 4th of July, it'll go unnoticed, or it'll go like wildfire, and we will lose. We will gain half that agree or think that we have a side on it. And I really think like people need to realize we don't have a side on any one of this. We just let Big Fella here bring a topic that we dipped our toes into full force. So
We're going to gain 500 and lose 625.
yeah, that's exactly right. All right, so then I go, hey, Dave, I think it should be socially acceptable just to fly the bird as a nonverbal communication of being upset with someone's actions.
I think it is acceptable.
I think people get offended by it.
Well, they get offended because they're being called out on their bullshit.
So I've had a few on driving to work when it becomes like tourist season up around Patoka Lake in the area. One of the common things is people that don't know where they're going, they just basically stop right in the middle of a 55-mile-an-hour zone where it's like, what are you doing? Because they've missed their turn or they're looking for where they're going. Or they have this like, I'm going to do this slow, easy pull out in front of you, and there's nobody behind you.
Yeah, and just wait 3 seconds.
Yeah, all they got to do is wait. I'll be right past you, and you can pull right out. And I had it the other day. I was coming up 145, and there at the intersection on that southeast part of the lake where it's 164 that comes from Wycliffe and all that, I had one just slow roll, like right out in front of me, where I could have put my hood of the polar bear in their passenger door if I wouldn't have jumped on my brakes. And there was no I guess what pissed me off is like they either do it to everybody or they were so dense and dumb about what was going on that they just, I guess 3 things. They do it to everybody, so they don't care. They legitimately see a white truck coming through at, 8:45 or 8:30 in the morning, or they literally just don't care about their fellow human about it, and then they don't do the speed limit. And I'd love to just be able to pass them at that next opportunity because that's what happens. And I'd love to just be able to fly the bird and they just stop and realize like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Instead, they would get mad at me for flying the bird or riding their ass when they're the ones that caused the problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been bothering me.
So I had a real good
Is this podcast?
prim and proper
Oh, yeah.
middle finger. Literally, this is
Were
crazy.
you the giver or the recipient?
Recipient.
Oh.
We're never the giver.
Oh, you were working.
Yeah.
Oh.
We can't be the giver.
No, you can't.
No, absolutely not. Never have I ever been the giver. That's a lie. But we were sitting at a stoplight. Let's just go for conversation's sake at the intersection of Highway 64
Okay.
and US 231.
Busy intersection.
McDonald's.
Huck's Memorial Gym, CVS, downtown Huntingburg, Indiana.
Well, I think they would say downtown's 4th Street, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
A little north of downtown.
Was sitting at the stoplight facing west on Highway 64.
Okay.
As traffic would appear, I was the second or third vehicle in line facing west. The individual that was first in line was going to travel west on 64, so he was not able to turn right on red.
Okay.
The light turned green.
Okay.
The first 2 cars advanced to the west. I was driving with 3 of my colleagues, in a vehicle, and I had made a right-hand turn on a green light to then travel north on US 231.
Okay.
As I had made my turn onto the northbound lane of US 231, an individual who was obviously in a super big hurry was exiting the Huck's parking lot to enter the southbound lane of US 231 that was currently at a red light stop. There was a woman in a vehicle that was traveling south on US 231 as well, that this individual had pulled out in front of, and she had to abruptly stop so he could then cross the turn lane to haphazardly enter the southbound lane of US 231.
That's a terrible spot to turn left out of.
Amen.
Traffic.
Amen. So he's coming out of Huck's. He's going to go across my lane, across the turn lane, and then enter the southbound lane of US 231 that was stopped.
Yeah, I'm following you.
So there he sits, half in the turn lane, half in my lane. The woman that's traveling south, she comes to abrupt stop. I come to an abrupt stop in the northbound lane, which I have every right to do, legally and, physically.
Yeah.
And this feller is not looking at me for nothing. Like I could have been a figment of his imagination. And I may or may not have gained his attention with my forward alerting device that's equipped with the vehicle that I am piloting.
That's the horn for those of you keeping track at home.
And at this point, he realizes what he has done and where he is. He looks at the woman that he pulls out in front of, which she's kind of not, she's not giving him, she's giving him a dirty look.
Yeah.
And I then am looking at this guy like with one of these looks, like a, like folks at home that are listening and not watching. I've got both of my palms turned upwards towards the sky.
Like a what the hell?
Like a what the f*** are you doing type deal, after initiating, the forward alerting device, safety device that's equipped in the vehicle that I'm driving. And at that point, he then turns with the most over-exaggerative, snappy head turn. Wow, looks right at me and gives me the most triumphant middle finger that you've ever seen, with the mouth, with and then, reading lips. He says, you
Olive shoes
or whatever, real big, And then with me piloting a municipal vehicle with three of my comrades, which we are 100% a reflection of the municipality that we work for, that we are 100% not supposed to retaliate in any situation at all. I just kind of looked at him and gave him the old thumbs up, like, good job, pal.
Yeah.
And then kind of snaked out of my lane into the Huck's, I guess it would be considered the apron of their entrance, and then went on ahead, on our way back to the shop to gain more tools to go on to the next job site. But in that situation, with the current traffic situation, I believe a warranted ass beating or verbal interaction would have 100% been applicable, for what I was dealing with. But yeah, so we get them a lot. We make a lot of friends, and especially me, being
heavy set fellow and
a petite 4 1/4 at a solid 6'4", 6'3.5".
You're shrinking.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, the half inch was just for conversation's sake.
Okay,
I'm a good 6'3" now. Okay. I've shrunk an inch in the last 20 years.
So just to summarize here, to be sure I understand, you're driving the truck, the guy makes a bad judgment, shoots the gap, stops, you honk, he flips you off.
And then mouth.
That's
all the shit.
100% accurate. Yeah, like, and then he mouths me, you.
Okay, we're all caught up. Well, that
Like
guy
I said,
definitely deserves.
like I said 2 weeks ago when we got on the hog jacker topic. It is our job as podcasters to paint a very detailed photo.
I tell you what, if
for those.
anybody ever committed a crime in front of you, this son of a bitch, he'd write the police report.
I have been told before on the record that I'm a very, very good deposer. And matter of fact, an Esquire told me that I may or may not be a professional deposition giver.
Well, that's good.
Because I just I remember details, you know.
Yeah,
like
I don't know how you didn't leave any out. I don't think. In that.
Yeah. So this cat really, he was in the wrong at that point. Now,
Can only hope he's a fan of the show. and
judgment call on my end.
You should have just ran the front of your vehicle right into the door side.
I should have just caved his car in half.
Yeah.
But
But, you
doors, I
know-
don't know he's driving, but some of the doors crinkle pretty quick.
Yeah. It was not a Honda Odyssey. It was actually like I believe it was like some sort of like 2-door sedan, like a Sunfire, an older Sunfire, maybe Pontiac.
Well, you got to figure this
Can't
guy.
dodge it, ram it.
What time was this?
I don't know. Maybe we were going back.
Oh,
from
you
lunch.
remember the whole ass?
You painted a hell of a picture, Picasso. You can put that up on a billboard.
Maybe we
It
were
was
going for lunch.
1:37.
Maybe we were going
So
for
here's the
lunch.
situation.
About 11:58.
This
somewhere
poor
in that-
bastard,
in that area.
he's been hearing it from his old lady, and then his old lady on the side's been on his ass. He went into Huck's to get him a big swig and a pack of smoke so he could get back to work because that's how he decided to spend his lunch break. And he was just in the zone. It's just a classic misunderstanding.
Yeah, and you know,
But
the
that,
thing
that
that-
you answer with a not the bird.
exactly. There has been so many times
He didn't have the right to fly the bird.
Right. That's
Yeah.
what I mean.
He should have been like, hey, my bad.
So
sorry.
your topic says I think it should be socially accepted to just fly the bird as a nonverbal communication of being upset with someone's actions. I completely agree.
Yeah.
But how that other person accepts said bird is really
Well, that's where road
is
rage
really the
incidents-
moral of the story.
That's where road rage incidents end up with somebody
I have
shot
been
dead at the
involved.
intersection.
I have been involved with a very, very serious. Well, 2 instances actually where I've been involved with very serious road rage.
One of them was
situation.
started at a Hooters.
Yeah.
Off the road, right?
One of them started at a Hooters, and then that led to some fisticuffs and some defecation and things that we just don't need to delve into. But
Peas Hooters.
yeah, no shit, R.I.P. But the other time was we were actually somewhere in no man's land, Alabama, headed down to the swamp,
Mm-hmm.
and there was an individual driving. I believe it was a yellow vehicle, and not to be judgmental, but need I say more? Like a yellow vehicle, like whatever, who douchebag, whatever. Anyway,
Dave, edit.
this guy was doing some very, very improper lane switches and some just very
Is it a
erratic.
Mustang.
No, very erratic driving, and I literally was just in the go lane with my cruise control set, signaling my intentions, doing everything that I should have been doing correctly. And this individual must have been having a very bad day or something like that, and then he started throwing what I could only assume to be like chew spitters or empty Powerade bottles, or he started throwing his trash out the window at our vehicle. And after like the second
You ever shot like bottle rockets and Roman candles at cars behind you?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
But after like the second or third garbage strike to our vehicle, going about 65, 70 mile an hour down the interstate, I then
Brandished a firearm.
I did brandish I brandished my firearm just to show him that I was not around anymore.
He was going to find out.
And I did not want him to throw any more garbage at my vehicle. And after that short little display of armament, he then exited the interstate promptly.
Yeah.
And I hated to do that. And still to this day, the warden will remind me of my actions in that particular situation. Was I out of line? Maybe, because I had my entire family in tow.
That's probably
And
what the warden may have.
we were roughly 400 to 500 miles away from our home. But in that particular situation, like, I was prepared to protect my family with the full extent of my well-being with any and all tools that I had of my disposal.
It's hard to throw trash forward when doing 60, but you can
Really just
Can
lob her
twist
up backwards. And that's what
send
was
some
happening.
lead up range.
So he could clearly see the firearm.
100%. Yeah. Like he was in the adjacent lane.
Oh.
Yeah. Just a shade behind me. And I may or may not have stuck it through the sunroof. Like, hey, pal,
That might be where the warden
you're
has
going to
a gra-
around
dude.
and find out here, bub. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, if I had been at fault in this particular situation, I would totally accept the middle finger and just, get back over in the lane and just keep on keeping on. But in this particular situation, I really don't feel as if I was the aggressor. Like, I feel like I was just a victim of circumstance and this individual's, poor day. But I wasn't going to fall victim to his and I just shut it down.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
I just shut it down.
Yeah.
And immediately. So, I can't tell you how many times I've been flipped off, like as a municipal worker. But I feel like it's got a lot to do with predetermined travel plans for folks. I think that has a lot to do with this topic in a lot of different facets. If you know
don't
what I
flip
mean.
anybody off if you ain't got nowhere to be most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
True.
Like if you're just out Sunday cruising, or if you're just gonna run up to the grocery real quick because you need something for the
Well,
next
it's hard
day.
to flip somebody off and hold a beer can and pilot the beer.
Exactly. But
That's
if you're
exactly
you're
right.
running late on a Monday morning and you've got a mean case of the Monday scaries and you don't know what's going down when you get there and all that, and some jackwad decides to cut you off or not signal his intentions or do
Stand
something
on tailgating people.
Yeah, do something asinine with that. I believe it could be a socially accepted, way of communication. Like, hey, buddy, you.
There you go.
You know,
I knew a guy that got flipped off once, and then it turned into a road rage thing, and he had his family with him. And back home in Richmond, or right by the courthouse and then the jail, the road dips off real steep and real deep. And buddy, he flipped the guy off, and the guy was getting road ragey and cussing and yelling, and he feared for his family, so he swapped some paint with him and ran him right off the side of that f***ing drop-off. Right by the police station. He said it's probably the best place, you know.
now I have never swapped paint with anyone in this. Now, there has been several times where a particular female that I am extremely close with has been piloting the vehicle to where I've had to tell her, like, hey, babe, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself, because if there is anyone in this world and or room that we're in right now that struggles with road rage, it's probably that gal, because she is a real peach to drive with when things aren't going her way. Man, oh man. And I believe you might have got a little taste of that with the
Computer.
with the old computer work. Yeah, like if she's got predetermined plans, really mapped out, like she knows how this is going to go. And if anything goes a little bit askew,
Creates problems.
holy moly.
Watch out.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to take a quick pause for the cause, brought to you by the MFL Foundation.
The MFL Foundation is something that is near and dear to Esquire's heart. The mission of the MFL Foundation is to continue the legacy of Esquire's mother and also provide scholarships for students interested in studying nursing. To raise funds, the foundation hosts a junior golf tournament at Huntingburg Country Club. This year's date is July 9th. Sign your youth golfer up today by heading over to MFL Foundation's Facebook page and sign up via TeamLinked.
All right, Brother Dave, we are back. Go ahead, fella.
What is something, hold on here. What is the most unnecessary thing you own? And you know it's unnecessary and you ain't got no business with it and it's just absolutely ridiculous, but you just couldn't bring yourself to part with. You got anything like that? Is that just me?
Tanya Tahoe.
Well, that's a spare vehicle. Turned out real handy this week for you. I wouldn't say that's unnecessary at all.
Yeah, well, so Tanya Tahoe would probably be up there, but I guess the other one would be my John boat. Because the John boat, and then another thing would be, so my John boat, a canoe, and 4 kayaks that I own that literally have done nothing but harbor wasps for like the last 4 years, I guess, maybe.
I was going to say 4 or 5 years ago, I think we met you out there.
Yeah, and
Part of Patoka.
because of the busyness of our schedules, the creeks that our canoes are going down currently, they're just not conducive for like aquatic recreation, which is a shame. It's a shame because I love spending time out there on the water. But like, yeah, I think that's it. The most unnecessary thing that I own currently would probably be
Watercraft.
yeah, like personal watercraft right now. That would be pretty something. And another thing would probably be that sweet all-American badass 22 caliber revolver that Dave and I purchased over the winter.
Yeah, it's
Like those things are pretty unnecessary, but it's like I'm not getting rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
It just keeps you fresh.
I
I could help you.
what I got.
Well, like all 1,455 golf clubs that you got stuck in your garage corner, which I'm extremely fortunate.
I was going to say, both of you at this table have benefited.
Yeah,
from
no, I have. Like I do, and I appreciate it wholeheartedly. Like the golf bag that I received, the set of irons that Dave's currently playing, like because of Lindemann's Golf Shop, like you have benefited me and Dave tremendously.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm trying to run through the stuff.
You're pretty simplistic. Like you don't have a bunch of garb up on the hill.
Listen, though, if I could and my wife would let me control the purse strings, we'd have a side-by-side. We'd have a camper, and we'd have a boat.
Yeah.
We have none of those things.
Right.
So really, when it comes to like big ticket items, we don't have a lot of the unnecessary. But I will say probably one of the biggest things that Janelle gives me flack about was when we were going to Babies R Us for Zoe. So this is 7+ years ago. We were walking through and they had a like a wipe warmer. And I put it in the cart. And Janelle goes, "What the hell are you doing that for? We don't need that." I said, "Hey, when it's 2 a.m.
You don't want your ass wiped with a cold wipe.
When it's 2 a.m. and that baby's screaming and I got to go in there and change said baby and I throw a cold wipe on their tuchus, they're not going to like it. So we're going to use the diaper warmer. Like we're going to get it." And she's like, "Okay, we're not going to use it." That son of a bitch has been used for every single one and the new edition.
Our kids,
And it's-
our poor kids, they're they're savages. That none of them got no wipe warmer.
The silver spoon up there on the hill. But but honestly, that's probably it. And like I mean, I guess we use the TV out in the living room, but Janelle and I have a TV in our room. And because our house is not like a huge monstrosity, we watch TV a lot in our room because it's quieter and that's where we go to unwind.
Me too.
So even like when it comes to that stuff, like really don't have a ton of unnecessary stuff.
I feel like mine's my 66 inches of subwoofer in this room. Actually, count the other ones.
No
it's like
way.
76.
Totally
Nobody
needed.
needs
Totally
that.
needed. No,
But
you're
I would
wrong.
never get rid of it.
You're wrong.
Yeah,
It's
you're
done
wrong.
nothing but bring me trouble from my wife.
You're wrong.
Well,
she
that-
enjoys it too.
Well, no.
Don't take no
no,
flack.
no.
Her,
She would enjoy
your
just as much if
wife
it was
and
a
her
10-inch.
cohort sitting out here have benefited from that more than you'll know.
But that's the karaoke. You could do that on a little party speaker.
Nah.
But you know what I know? I guess I would say this. The beer fridge out in the garage. Do I really need it?
Yeah.
No. But is it nice to have? Yes.
I got a beer fridge in here. I got a beer fridge on the back porch.
Yeah. Those are necessities.
Yeah.
Well,
But for entertainment.
Yeah. Or mowing. You don't want to have to ever go too far to grab a cold one.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
gotta keep it-
Well,
Because you can't, we've talked about this before. Cup holders on a mower are completely pointless.
If you ain't got a beer. Oh, I don't use it anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Cup holders on lawnmowers are pointless
yeah.
because 9 times out of 10, they won't, any sort of water vessel
Falls out.
falls out. They're not deep enough. They're not conducive. Like they are made for a 12 fluid ounce can.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to drink a Coke or a soda or anything carbonated, it's going to be flat the first swath you make.
And then just covered in dust if you leave it in there.
Exactly. And a beer, stupid, foamed over, flat, dumb.
Yeah, I just put that 12-pack cooler and a bungee cord it down to the
Yeah,
top.
we've talked about this. So like mower beers is stupid. So like a beer fridge in multiple different locales on your property within your mowing map is a
That being said,
total-
I should probably put one down on that power pole in the backyard. just
Now, some would say, are like your hot tub, my pool, your pool. Unnecessary.
yeah, but I'm just saying
Unnecessary.
There's truth.
that you, but you just would hate to ever have to part with.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That baby.
I'm gonna
that,
tell you
I
right
called
now,
it a
after
baby. I
building
was
that
literally
one-
going to church it up, but my pool is more of a babysitter than anything I've ever had.
I've owned 2 pools and constructed 4 because both of them blew down during construction or broke. And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd have it again.
I would, because of the pool experiences that me and my wife have had have been effortless and seamless. Like constructing the original spot was a little painstaking and labor intensive, but once I got that spot made,
Mm-hmm.
like we literally have put up, we've bought our second pool this year and constructed it, and it was I mean, it went together like a dream. Like, we didn't fight. We got together great. We worked together as a team. We put it together. We filled it, did it the right way. We adjusted the location of the pump this year to where it's not such a traffic inhibitor, to the pool from the patio area. And is that pool unnecessary? Yeah, because literally 70 yards from that pool is a 2-acre lake.
Yeah.
That is 100% conducive for swimming and or floating or fishing. Like, it's right there.
Well, I would say, my younger brother would probably say anything that I own hunting related.
Yeah, it's
unnecessary.
for sure. Yep, I'll
Because
agree.
Firearms are good as
Well, not that side. He's saying
No, it's more of the ground blinds, the camouflage, the
because I
seats,
haven't shot anything, and I'm.
But we
supposed
will.
to.
But we will.
This year's the year.
This is gonna, and I will
Are we
make.
going to do a group hunt this year?
We
finally?
can. We will.
Let's just
And
go
I
sit
have
somewhere with some coffees.
I have the
on.
property to do it. Casey has the property to do it.
There's a little bucket.
I
in the backyard.
have the
had 20.
accommodations to do it. Like, I have a gargantuous hunting lodge that we could set up either on your spot or my spot or anywhere we want. We'll logistically plan it to where we can
because I
get,
told Wyatt this year, the reason I haven't hunted in the past couple years.
because of freezer space.
Yeah, but I've got freezer space covered.
Yeah.
He's like, are you going to use your bow? I was like, well, I don't know, I might. I said, now that I can shoot something, because he loves it, and I don't mind it. I like it, but I don't love it. That kid's all about it.
I like the harvesting aspect of it more so as like I used to really enjoy like the mental disconnect of going and sitting in a tree.
Oh, that's my favorite part.
But now I really need to get the warden like licensed and legal to where like with our property.
Does she need to be licensed
Yes.
as a property owner?
Yes, because of her birth date
Oh,
and all that. And we're not actually
the property owner.
our names are not on the deed yet, so it's like so she still needs to acquire the proper credentials to obtain a license. Like you, did you have to get your hunter safety?
Yeah, we took it in school.
Right.
How did you not take it?
She didn't go to school here at that time.
Oh.
She didn't go to school here at that time. So she needs to obtain that to where she could become a legal and licensed hunter. And we can divide and conquer because my son, who really loves the idea of pulling the trigger on the animal, but doesn't want to spend as much time acquiring the opportunity to pull the trigger, can go with her. And then like my daughter, his twin sister, is all in. Like she beats me up in the mornings because she is ripping and raring to go.
She's high energy.
Yeah, and she's ready to go. So hopefully at this point we will be able to, harvest the animal, and then I will be able to hone in all of my focuses on getting you, my buddy,
Well,
your first
my
harvest.
buddy.
Yeah,
Good buddy.
We're going to get that figured out. But yeah, I mean, you know what though? Dave, in the eyes of the beholder, if you don't want to get rid of it, is it really unnecessary?
Dang.
Good one.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
It is now time for the Merkley and Sons Choice Cut question. Just one question of the week. Brought to you by Merkley and Sons, the ultimate destination for meat enthusiasts.
We heard the rumors. We hope they weren't true, but your social media posts tell us otherwise. The rumor that is true, and not actually a rumor at all, is that for your Memorial Day weekend cookout, you didn't buy your meat from Merkley and Sons. We aren't mad, just disappointed. Wait. Check that. Yep, we're mad, you dumb. Merkley's is the ultimate meat destination for a reason. 4th of July is getting close. Don't screw this up again.
All right, fellas. This one question comes from somebody closely associated with the operation that sponsors this segment. And he sent it to me and asked it. And so...
Hey, are you doing okay?
my
Seem a
sinuses,
little nasally.
well, my sinuses, I had them real bad 2 weeks
Did
ago.
you catch that?
Or last, well, in real time last week, where like my contacts, like I was staring at my computer screen and I was like, holy shit. So I've just been battling the old allergy.
Bear down, buddy. Bear down.
So anyways, he commented, listening to the end of today's show, Interlanguage got a good would you rather. So would you rather have a conversation with someone that doesn't speak your language or with someone that doesn't know what the they are talking about? And he just put F, but I knew what he was trying to say. Those big paws that he's got, he probably has a hard time texting sometimes. So I'm not going to name names.
Yeah, big paws.
But he's got big paws.
Say no more.
Wears like a size 14
No.
boot,
17.
big head.
Custom served, like hot dog head. Yeah.
But that guy would give you the shirt off his back, and he's a good soul.
Wouldn't fit. but
One
he
hell of a model
Yeah,
American.
he is good. But we're not going to name names, but we're going to describe him almost to a T. But anyways, so fellas, would you rather have a conversation with someone that doesn't speak your language or with someone that doesn't know what they're talking about?
Oh, probably somebody that doesn't speak my language. I'm assuming this is a long, drawn-out conversation, not a grocery aisle checkout lane conversation.
Because I'll give you his answer, too, once we're done. Because he provided a response. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That was
So really, to slice and dice this, so if somebody that doesn't speak my language is wanting to have a conversation with me, am I having to use some sort of like translative?
I think you're doing... So it would be like
you've got translative dance.
You've got a street closed, and some old boy turns down the street. Turns out English is not his native language. Maybe he speaks broken English or not any English at all. And you don't have your buddy there that speaks the native language. And you're trying to communicate with this guy like, hey, you can't, you got to. So that is where that would probably be.
So I'll go ahead and jump line. I do that all the time. Like we do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like pre-employee that pre-Cesar, we had to deal with that a lot. Now that Cesar's on board and 90% of the non-English speaking humans that live in our in our community, they either know some sort of Spanish or they either know Spanish, a broken Spanish, or like a French Creole type thing that he can still, like they still pick up on some Spanish, but no English at all. I think I would rather talk to somebody about something that they know nothing about and kind of try to, because of how detail oriented I am in speaking.
Oh, yeah, we got that earlier.
Yeah. Like, I think I could really dumb it down and really lock them in and help them figure it out, as opposed to me trying to fight that language barrier.
I think
that's me.
where you're...
I took it as somebody that doesn't know what the they're talking about, but thinks that they do.
Bingo. That's what it is.
Well, and that would be more of a self-success thing for me if I do factually know more about something that they do, even though they think they do, being able to own them and help them realize that they're a moron and they don't know.
We've had this conversation before about the round and round of talking to somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about. And
Yeah.
Good luck. It would be.
You're going with the language barrier?
Oh, hell yeah. Because
At least I could humor myself there. Pussy fart.
Majority of communication is nonverbal anyway, so you can get that figured out.
Yeah.
And I've
Okay.
watched a lot of seasons of The Amazing Race, and they don't speak the language, and they get around, I guess you could say just fine, but some of them struggle. But
Yep.
his response basically was, in their line of work, they deal with both, can typically get through the language problem, but you can't fix stupid. So that's where he's at.
I get it.
So there
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate it. It is now time for some final thoughts on what has been a very heavy Friday episode. hopefully you find some laughs. Hopefully,
Happy
you find
4th
some
of
things
July,
you agree
baby.
With. And final thoughts brought to you by Rugged Foot.
Wanderers, we don't ask for much, but we are asking now. Please, please, please head over to Facebook and like and share the Rugged Foot of Huntingburg. Mike has a wonderful Facebook page that not only shows what he has in stock, but also what he's got on special. I was perusing Mike's Facebook page just the other night and was impressed with not only the variety of boots, but the fact that he carries quality boots for work, hiking, and leisure. Not only does he sell the boots, but he also has the socks and accessories you need to keep your feet happy. Stop by on Facebook and stop by in person.
All right, Brother Dave, what say you?
Happy 4th of July, my favorite holiday of the year, I think. Celebrate your independence, your freedom, because not many others can. So.
Big fella.
Yeah. So don't forget that freedom isn't free. It's a hefty fee. And, keep on keeping on. Don't sweat the small things. Going back to the road rage deal, don't delve into too much because you never know what that other guy's going through. And slow down a little bit. It'll be there when you get there.
Bingo.
Keep your stick on the ice, and love you guys.
Big thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors. Forgot to do that last week, but of course our friends there at Celebration Ice. But we only have one friend at Celebration Ice, but we assume we would get along with everybody.
Oh,
over there.
yeah. Good people.
Of course, then we got Jumping Jacks Entertainment, which, you'll see him at the 4-H fair coming up, and the porch party. We're probably going to do that again. He's got a good business. The MFL Foundation, Merkley and Sons, and of course the Rugged Foot. We appreciate them that come on board, and hopefully you support them as well. Not a whole lot with this being Friday, July 4th. Please be safe. There's been a couple of fatalities due to allegations of intoxication. One there just in Evansville, which when you listen to this, it was a couple weeks ago. Young mother, young nurse. Be smart, be safe, designated driver. Also, protect your kids around fireworks. Burns are bad. My household, when we were growing up, my mom, the old school nurse that she was, saw a lot of burns. Wasn't a big firework person until we got older. But protect your kids, be safe, cook something great, get your meat from Merkley and Sons. Have a good time because we do live in the best country ever. We love it. For those that brought us our independence, we thank you greatly. And Debrado, hey, in another month, asshole, you go back to work. We'd eat that.
Dutchmen out.